We gonna get it, yeah, we bout to ride. NW to the day that we die. Millennials and you know we a vibe. Keenan the host and you know he the guy. If you don't have time, you can listen on the go. Listen to the podcast on your drive home. You can watch the podcast right on your phone. It'll keep your interest like a bank loan. Keep it real, it's nothing less. Always stay humble, they wanna flex. Gotta thank God, know that we blessed. Never gonna quit, life is a test. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world.
Millennials versus the world.
Yo, what up, good people, man? Welcome back to another segment of the Midnight Night Crew. Man, first of all, shout out, major salute to Britt for our dope ass shirt. We're gonna show major love. You know, we kissing in the mouth on Earth 98, baby. You know it. But appreciate everybody that's been rocking with us, man. It's your boy K. Mims. I got Princess Asia, Brittany Lewis, DJ J Dub, man. The only spot you get authenticity and entertainment at the same time. So tonight we gonna switch up the vibe tonight, man. You know, I think we spent a lot of time talking about our different perspectives on men and women, but I think today's episode is going to be very different in the sense that we're going to really open up the floor for the three queens on our pod to kind of open up perspective of Black women and to give thought of where this came from. I know obviously you all are not in our chat, but we are. But I think that video that was shared amongst us about Black women and what they go through on the daily and how the emotions of a Black woman come out differently than, you know, sometimes everybody understand. I thought it would be a good idea to kind of switch up the vibe and just kind of like post check how the three people on the panel that we rock with, how their experiences have been, and leaving the floor to kind of like get that perspective from them. So I first would like to open up by saying, first of all, thank you three for always showing up, being here, always being vulnerable, always giving your perspective on things. But the first question for tonight is, what is some of you all's daily interactions as Black women? And I want you to go from as much or as little, from relationships, from work, families, motherhood, whatever perspective that you want to give. What is it like on a daily basis to be a Black woman? And I'll open that floor to anybody.
Dina, you want to go first?
I'm not trolling today, bro. I'm not with that energy today, bro. I'm not doing that. I'm leaving it. Okay. I'm leaving it to Brittany, Princess, and Asia. I'm letting them kick it first.
Okay.
It is no takers?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think from what perspective.
So what instance? Let's go with work. Let's go. Matter of fact, let's go. Let's not go with work, and let's go with in today's society, the weight you all are holding. What is it like when you were by yourself? Your own thoughts, you being by yourself, you living in the space of who you are, the world we live in, where society is saying you all are at, social media. What is it like to do that like real life Black woman thing versus social media Black woman thing? If it is a difference. Brittany, okay.
Yeah,
Brittany over here like
Go ahead.
Because it's still kind of hard to answer, right?
Okay.
But I think I would say like when I'm by myself, I think it's a lot of pressure being a Black woman. Just because like right now, and we've talked about this previously on other pods, but like Black women, we are the most educated right now, right? And so for me, I have this pressure of like, all right, I got to make sure that like I'm grinding hard. I got to make sure that like when I walk in, and I know you said we're not starting work, but when I go into work, like I represent not just me, but I represent now all educated Black women. And so for me, it's just like, it's a lot to like, even when I'm not even in a room with anybody, for me, I'm oftentimes just like, okay, how can I still be this independent person, this successful person, and also learning how to be like this soft, if you will, woman, so that I'm strong, but I'm not aggressive. But I'm not so soft that you feel like you can walk all over me. Because at the same time, like people still like, I don't want to say people, but sometimes actually with women that are also successful, it's like this competition because sometimes it's still just like, all right, well, it can't be I'm a successful black woman and you're a successful black woman in the same workspace, right? Or
Yep.
like in the same space. There can only be one. So now there's this now there's like this internal and external competition with another successful black woman because
Mhm.
we feel like and it has been ingrained that they're only going to pick that one black woman to represent, you know what I'm saying, or to
Mhm.
be that one in the field or whatever the case may be. So I think it's trying to find that for me when I'm by myself, it's me trying to find that balance.
Mhm.
um of being, yeah, of being that's the best way I can say it. Strong but not aggressive, successful but not like I don't need anybody's support or help, independent but not in a way that I can't uplift other black women as well. So it's like it's a constant like tug of war, if you will.
Mhm.
Princess Brittany.
Um, my first thoughts was work as well because I work in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's honestly in so many different areas of corporate, like just being a black woman in leadership. Like Asia said, it's kind of like the competition thing where it's like other successful black women, in leadership don't necessarily want to pull you up, or guide you along the way. So it's like you're fighting for your life by yourself when you're already not necessarily treated fairly. Your opinions don't necessarily matter. Your pay doesn't reflect what your other colleagues of another race reflect. So it's like you have to fight 10 times harder just to get what you feel or that that you deserve. So it's like a constant battle with that, even in conversations and meetings. Like sometimes things that other people can say, like I can't just say it and get away with it because I'm gonna come off as aggressive or the angry black woman. So I definitely have to choose my words, but someone else can say the exact same thing and it will be nothing, thought of it. And it's like, well, I just said that, but because they said it, it's taken differently. So it's almost like you're constantly walking on eggshells because you're trying not to offend society. I think that's the best way to put it.
Absolute respect, Brittany.
Um, I agree with everything they said,
Oh
but
God, here she
no, no,
go.
no. But seriously, all jokes aside, I feel like if I can describe it, it would probably be like an octopus, right? Like all the little tentacles that we have, where each one represents a dynamic of our life, whether that's friend, mom, wife, spouse, partner, your job title, whatever it is. It's a representation of that. And sometimes something that Asia said that I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with, only because it took me a while to understand that, is she said finding the balance between being strong and aggressive, and like understanding what that looks like, so it doesn't filter over into that. But to your question, Keenan, I feel like society has depicted the black woman to be strong for so long. And for me, I needed to understand that, like, when I'm not my strongest, that doesn't mean that I'm weak, right? Like, so in as a mother, as a wife, as a ED in leadership at work, as therapist, whatever it is, like wherever my weaknesses are, that does not correlate to my strengths. Like, it doesn't. I'm allowed to be that in that moment, right? And not be defined as what society says strong, because it filters out into frustration for me. I get frustrated really easily when I can't do anything, or excuse me, can't do something, or I feel like I'm not strong enough to do something. That later translates for the world into that angry black woman that Princess was talking about. But having for me to understand personally, like, I can't let that define me. Like, I can't let my strengths and quote unquote weaknesses define me as a black woman based on what other people's perspectives of how they view the world or what the black woman is supposed to look like. We are always the underdogs in the room. Let me tell you, going to a meeting every single time that I go to a meeting, I'm not gonna say when, with a bunch of white folks, just to put it, let's be real, being the youngest black female in a director role in child welfare for me down here, and I live in a melting pot full of Hispanics and whites where it's not predominantly black, it is so hard for me to kind of, I almost feel like I'm selling myself all the time, and I always have to be strong, and I always have to stand up for what I'm, and I like it's the lack of support, um just for looking the way that I look, or being my age or whatever. It sucks. It's hard sometimes. And when I do feel like I said, we just got to do a little bit more in all walks of our life. We feel like we have to do a little bit more. And that ties into that pressure that Asia was talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's exhausting.
It is.
it really is. And I think like, and Britt, to what, like to your point, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. I think when I was saying strong, I was more so on the with what Princess is saying is like, for instance, I've been in a meeting, right? And I'm like, I have these strong opinions. And I've been in a room and everybody else is being so emotional, right? And we just need to make a decision. I'm the type I can turn my emotions off. So I'm like, okay, well, we need to do A, B, C, D. This needs to be the solution, and that just is what it is, right? So I had some people in there were like, Asia, that was so good, that was awesome. And I had the director, and she said, oh my God, are you okay? Like you just came off, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And to be fair to what Princess said earlier, then somebody came back, no emotion, right? Was just saying super monotone, and nothing was said to that person. And what I told the director was, I said, no, I just articulated myself in a way that was not overly emotional, and I wasn't overly stimulated by half the things y'all were saying. We need to get to a solution. So I got to one clearly and concisely. I'm fine. I'm actually doing great. And for her, it was hard for her to understand. And I'm like, I didn't want to come off. And some people have told me I come off as sharp and aggressive. I'm like, okay, but then if somebody else says it, it's like, oh, wow, they made a good point.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. So, in that same regard, Jay and Lewis, I'm gonna ask y'all, what are y'all experiences day in and day out with black women, and in any capacity, jobs, wives, mothers? What are y'all experiences day to day like?
You go first, bro.
Um, I feel like the experiences that I've had with black women, they're tired of being strong by themselves.
Hmm.
Um, just the women that I deal with, they are they've been put in a place where they can't be vulnerable,
Hmm.
because it comes off as being weak. They've been put in a place to where that if they are in a corporate setting, like all of them they stated, I've witnessed it. We've been in meetings and they've said some great things and made great points where everybody's looking like, okay, but and like you said, somebody double backs and says the exact same thing, and it's like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. So I've seen the discrimination done on that level. I've seen it done on a personal level, and I just think that they're just tired of being strong, so they don't know. I don't think that we're stepping up as black men enough to make them feel safe in those areas and in those environments. If I'm being honest, how does that look? I don't know at the present moment, but in a corporate setting, I think it looks like, okay. To Asia's point, validating her and saying that was a great point. I'm glad you did say that. That makes sense. Take the emotion out of it versus downplaying what she's saying and somebody saying the exact same thing. So that's the experience I've had with black women.
Louis B.
Yeah, so I'll start with the workplace and then I'll transition to something else I think is important. So in the workplace, my experience with black women has been nothing short of amazing because every opportunity that I've gotten, you know, there was a black woman involved. I would not be where I am today if it weren't for, and I've said this before, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for black women in positions to make decisions, to guide me, to nurture me, to cover me when I was making mistakes, to be where I am. So I am, and white women, but black women, you know, there's a shorthand, there's an understanding of culture and things of that nature that just, you know, certain things are just unspoken, but nothing like black women. I mean, they've advocated for me in ways that I no one else would have. So I'm forever grateful and will always, you know, acknowledge and understand the plight that you all face. But my experience with black women in the workplace has been great. Like it really has. And one thing I noticed about them, once they get in position to make decisions or change, they probably are the most effective and efficient with it than anyone I've seen, to be honest with you. Maybe because they understand the challenges that it took to get there, and eliminating those obstacles for other people. Um, and they understand the talent that maybe is left behind, and they're really good at bringing that along.
Mm.
But I would say that's been my experience. I'm not to say that any other races don't, but that's been my experience. I've seen that firsthand. I think society wise, I think black women are overly sexualized, for various reasons, because of their figures, which are beautiful, but they
It's crazy,
but
man.
at times they get limited to that, right? When I go on
Mm.
Instagram or I go on anything, I see more black women being more revealing and being pushed in commercials and all these other things for their shapes and things of that nature. And I think that's a little bit unfair to them as opposed to maybe other races. Also, when it comes to society, they're in last place. They're in last place.
Yeesh.
I mean, let's just be real. They've accomplished so much more than people give them credit for.
I
You know
agree.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They've spearheaded and they've been, obviously think about Rosa Parks, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, all these other. Well, there are plenty of black inventors, plenty of black businesswomen. I think and as a black man, our biggest asset is the black woman. To me, right? Because you have someone
100%
who
agree.
understands what it means to be a black man, right? And again, I don't think there's anyone, just speaking from my experience, there's never been anyone no experience I've ever had that's pushed me and allowed me to excel more than black women.
Yeah, facts.
My biggest
And
cheerleaders are black women, like for real.
for sure, hands down.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna start work and go elsewhere too. So for work, I'm actually opposite of a lot of y'all. I actually work in a female dominated industry, so I see a lot of black women, and really, my best leaders have been my number two. I've been to in 5 different settings, and the 2 top settings were led by black women. My leader now is hands down by far one of the best I've ever across. Even if I've seen people work in different industries, her leadership is just A1. It's funny. I think one thing that I do see to relating to Asia, and this may come off a little harsh, but it is one thing that I see about the strength and what you all have to endure in order to get where you go, get to where you're going. Like for instance, in my industry, it's a lot of black women that have been that same thing strong for so long. And to Aja's point that she made earlier, feeling like when a lot of black women are in the room, they feel like it could only be one. You know what I mean? And me being in the industry I'm in, a lot of the weird conversations I have is like, oh, you get a chance because you a male. Like I can't never get the same opportunity because you a male. They want more males here. They want more males here. And seeing strong black women have the ability to conquer anything, but don't have the trust factor with each other in a very enclosed setting has been interesting. And I feel like I've learned that, like, I don't know if it's society, family, or experiences that kind of, I don't want to say put y'all against each other, but it's like after a certain threshold of strength, it's hard to let that down in any setting. So when you got 4 or 5 different strong women at one table, in my experience, it's been really hard to see a decision come to something that everybody can agree upon because of the strong minds. But it goes back to that trusting feeling of knowing that like one person is worthy of, I mean, more than one person is worthy of getting those positions. But in my work field, I'm surrounded by black women. They're cool. That I love all aspects. I think the biggest thing for me and my experience is they just don't turn their back on you. If you look at it from any instance, it don't matter which way you go. They don't let up on you, whether it be a leader, whether it be a partner situation in work, whether it be a spouse. All that's been good. I think from a personal standpoint, my experiences has been very unique. Like I'm in a single parent. I came up in a single parent household, so a woman was the leader of my house coming up. So that's what I was used to. Now, I think my like even with my experiences with my wife, I think it's different having conversations with her about growth because it's like some of the things that I do to her, some of the things that I do are direct reflections of information or game she's giving me. You know what I mean? But she's able to take the back seat to things that she knows that I'm willing to do. that she'll give me game on and doesn't feel a way about the success I'm having, knowing that she gave me kind of the game, not all of it, but a great part of it. So my personal experience has been good. But to a question that popped up while we were talking about this, what in which space do you all feel the safest? In which space do you all feel the safest? Is it the workplace? I know it's not that, but I put it out there. Is it with your friends? Is it with your family? Like, in which space do you all feel like you can be yourselves, or you feel the safest where there's no judgment? You can let your hair down. You can be vulnerable. You can be high energy and not be called aggressive. Like, what space is that for you all that you feel like is open?
I feel like for the most part it's around like my family
Mhm,
and my friends, but just in spaces of like other like-minded black people, you know,
mhm,
or even it's sometimes everybody's not even like-minded, to be honest. But when
mhm.
you just in a room like of black people and it's just some black stuff going on
Yeah,
and everybody gets
yeah,
it and ain't nobody jumping and ain't like,
yeah.
and it's just like
With
we're
that.
just here and we're just existing in all of our greatness, like that just feels safe and it feels good to me, and I love when I'm in those types of environments.
Mhm.
Same.
Dope, dope.
Same. I mean,
Asia. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
she's
ahead, Brittany.
no, she Princess hit it on the head. Like here, for me, this right, y'all don't understand. This podcast in itself is a safe space for me. Although we may be sharing our experiences with the world, and sometimes we filter, sometimes we don't, but
Mhm,
or we share as much as we need to. But this in itself
mhm,
is a safe space, just to be um in a position to have an opinion and not, not feel like, oh, I might be saying the wrong thing, or I don't know who's going to take offense to what or whatever. But just
mhm,
getting that, seeing the energy, especially from male perspectives and other women, black women that are doing something. Lewis said something prior to us copping on, like, y'all encourage me to do X, Y, and Z. Like we encourage each other. And that's why even when he was missing last, I feel it when somebody is going somewhere else. Like this is a safe
mhm.
space. So I'm always forever grateful for that. But also just being home, just being around my family, my husband, my children. I can be me when I walk through the door.
Hmm.
For sure.
Um, for me, I think it's similar, like with my family for sure.
Mhm,
um, but also in spaces with black folks. But it's with black folks that are with black folks that are doing something with themselves.
factual.
Like
Factual.
I because I've realized that, like, let's say there's somebody else, right, that's black, that they're surrounded by other people that are doing that have something going on. I don't
Mhm,
care what it is, but they have something going on. Sometimes they have this thing of like, well, y'all had to sell out to get there, or like, well, I'm still at the same spot that I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? And it just
mhm,
becomes, for me, it puts a damper on the whole mood. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes it's even hard to uplift those people too,
mhm,
um, because they're so stuck where they are. So for me, I need to be around black folks that are doing something with themselves, just something.
for
But
sure.
for me, that's where I feel the safest, because then I feel like I could talk about work freely, and I'm
Mhm,
like, dang, am I offending them? I can talk about different experiences and be like, okay, cool. Everybody in this space has a story similar to that about whatever experience they're going through. But somebody that's just stagnant, mm-mm.
factual.
Do you, Keenan, I don't, if you don't mind me asking this,
It's your world.
do y'all feel like, because of the limited, and I use lightly, like opportunity, I guess, um, that society has drawn for us anyway, black people are just competitive with each other in nature, like off rip.
Mm.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yep.
speak on that, Britt.
So,
When Keenan, I forgot what you said earlier, but it made me think about what you just asked, Britt, because I feel like we're always the first. Like there always has to be a first,
mm,
a first black president, first
mhm,
black whatever it is, executive at your company. But there always has to be a first. So until then, it's like the black people in that space are fighting to get that spot. So it's like we really can't be friendly. It's not that we can't, but we don't want to be friendly and support each other while we're all trying to get to that spot, because
For sure.
it never has been. It's not like, is the way our mentality is like they might not accept two of us, or they might not accept three of us. So I'm gonna have to do whatever it is that I can so that I can be that one. And if that means like knocking my brother or my sister down, or like not being too
Mm,
nice to them, then a lot of times it's like, well, so be it, because I have to look out for me. And it's unfortunate that we live in that type of society and that type of world, that that is our reality.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think too. And like even thinking about like even as we were talking about, I'm just thinking about like the terms of affirmative action, tokenism, crabs in a barrel. Like all these have to do with the fact that there can only be a limited number of
Mm-hmm.
black folks. You know what I'm saying? So I think it literally comes down to like a, is it going to be me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then people will say like, all right, when I get to the top, I'll bring y'all with me. But it's like a, one of us got to get there, because to Britt's point, they
Yeah.
might not take all of us.
Hmm.
So, and I'll say to that point, yes, I think there are limited opportunities. You know what I'm saying? But in that very same regard, I feel like it's also based on what opportunities we decide to go for. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times in our community, we limit ourselves to certain outlets, certain careers, certain ways of living, certain ways of doing things. And once we, this is the thing, like for instance, say we go to a networking event. I'm speaking from personal experience. It probably took me a year and a half not to migrate only to people that look like me. It
Hmm.
it did. It was like, even if I went there for a specific reason, my comfortability wouldn't allow me to go network with everybody. I would eventually do that, but I would initially migrate. I would, you'll walk through and walk the outskirts and then find where I felt that I was most comfortable at. You know what I mean? So I do think it's limited opportunities. I just don't think, even when I was coming up in high school or in college, you never really taught true collaboration. I think you always been taught like, go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it. And even the small things of like, excuse me, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? What that turns into is like information that you gain in there you typically don't share. Like those things you feel like you gain in this house are supposed to stay there. Or if you're finding out information that could help us solve, I can't let somebody get there before I do type thing. You know what I mean? It's just me at 32 years old. I just figured out like that don't really matter. Like you can give people all the information in the world, and if they don't decide to do with it what they see fit, it doesn't really matter. And now being an educator, it's even worse for me because I'm telling 12 and 13-year-olds like, hey, bro, like, no, I'm telling you what I know, not what I think, but their view of the world is limited.
Mm-hmm.
Their view outside, like the world is as big as their street. So when you try to have those conversations, it's like we lack exposure. So from a lack of exposure, we lack opportunity. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that the opportunities are only limited because the exposure, and exposure looks very different around a lot of ways. Like if you can't always travel when your kids are young, you can expose them to a lot of information, especially in the digital age now. And I think we lack that exposure if it's not always the physical or actually in person taking them there. There's ways to give them that information, and when we don't, we limit their mind. You know what I mean? And then when you limit their mind, they're only going to think about those things. And if we have a block full of kids with limited minds around the same things, it's going to turn into exactly what you said. So I do think I think the opportunities are out there, but like, how do we respond when we see one of us in a position that we don't see one of us in? It's like what Asia said, like, what? Like, okay. Like, what are you doing, bro? Because
Mm-hmm.
those positions aren't supposed to be held by us. So we kind of antagonize those positions.
Mm-hmm.
That answer your question,
Yeah.
Lewis? What's your opinion, bro?
I mean, I think my speaking from my experience is different because I'm a twin, so I don't know if my competitive nature is driven from being compared to someone constantly, or just because I'm black. I'm being honest, and I'm extremely competitive. I will say though, I think a lot of times we are a minority, and people. I think people associate that word with color, but minority is really has to do with volume and numerical, proportions, and we represent a very small part of a bigger society. And sometimes it's just not limited. Sometimes we're just not well represented. You know what I mean? If there's 100 people in a place, 100 managers at a company, and 10 of them are black, and the other 80 or 50 are white, and 20 are various, like that's actually well proportioned to the society and the numbers of society. So I think sometimes we have to look at it as a point of really just the numbers. It's somewhat of a numbers game. But I don't know. I don't really know if that's really been my experience competing with other black people. I honestly look at it as an advantage being a black man in a corporate space. I feel like sometimes it works. It probably works for me in a lot of ways because the expectation is low due to their ignorance. So when I do exceed, or when I do come in and I'm speaking, or when they do ask me to hold a meeting and I can articulate better than most of the people there, it blows their mind. I'm like, yeah. So I kind of use that to my advantage. I know it's weird, but that's kind of my thought on it.
I mean, I don't think it's weird, but do you think you use it to your advantage? But do you think it's an advantage? I get how you use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
But
that's the way I choose to look at it. It's their ignorance by thinking the bar is low. But when I come in and I exceed your expectation, your ignorance thought maybe you think that low of me. But I always look at it like, what you think of me is none of my business. You know what I'm saying? If you choose to think less of me because of my complexion, then that's your problem. You know what I mean? I'm going to be great. I'd be great whether I was black, white, or any other color. But you choose to think lower of me because of that. You get exposed to Lewis. It's going to change. It's going to maybe shift your perspective. You're going to think it's at least one good one out here.
Yo, come on, man.
And see, my issue with that, Lewis, is say you are like exceeding their expectations. Like, wow, we didn't know Lewis had all of that. You could still be the lowest paid person in your position.
That's my
and to me, it's a slap in the face. And you're like, that's so unfair. Like you said, you can articulate better than maybe everybody else on the team. Your ideas are bright, but it's like you would still get the least amount of pay and credit.
That's my fault.
Why? Because you're a black man.
But I think that's my fault.
Why?
Absolutely, it's not.
Because things like salary, but I accept whatever job I accept, I choose to be there. So if I feel like I'm underpaid,
are you not admitting though when you accept that salary that it's also coming in at it's at a lower rate?
But that's what I choose to accept.
But you choose to accept it because you don't feel that you can get more.
That's my fault.
No, but the thing
I don't
about
think that's your fault. I
is,
think that's just what society is. Like, I don't think that's your fault.
Right.
But I agree. Society may say that, but if I choose to accept that.
But you could choose to accept it, Lewis, and it may be a great job offer, like in your eyes, like to the point where you feel like you're compensated at a nice amount. But the person beside you, salary still may be like way more than you still, like on top of that. Yeah. What makes you not deserve what that person? You know what I mean?
I mean,
I get what y'all know what that person makes. It's just the facts of what happens in corporate
I will say
America.
salaries are more transparent now than they've ever been in certain environments. But again, like I just choose to live my life based on what I accepted it. Even if someone's making twice as much as me, I still choose. And if I find out and I choose still to work there and to be a part of a company that does that, then that's on me.
Okay. I think that to piggyback off of that real quick, I think that we accept that because that's what we feel like that's the best that we can get. That's the best that we can do. We go in automatically with the bar so low that if they say out a number to us, you are right, Lewis, you are accepting that, right? But if you're accepting a salary at $120,000, right? But the guy with the same resume or the female with the same resume that is white or whatever, and she's making $200,000 doing that, you don't have that knowledge yet, right? Until you know what she's making. But essentially, you're going to go in excited like, oh, man, I'm making $120,000. That could be life circumstances. It could be that you came from a low-paying income family and you're just excited to make $100,000. So you don't really necessarily know your worth because you're just basing it off of this is more money than I've ever seen in my life. It's not really a fair pay scale.
So that, like, I don't want to deviate from the conversation, but who determines your worth?
I get where you're going, Louis.
But I'm saying I determine my worth.
Right.
So that
So
ain't no
I
one
think
else's. That's no one else's job.
I think the I'm not going. I don't want to use the word disconnect, but I think the difference in I see both sides, but I think the difference is Lewis is coming from an information standpoint. Like if I gain the information I need in order to go to this table, like if I get offered 75,000, I feel like that's what I'm cool with, even though there's other people making more. If I go and say I'm cool with that, I can't say said company is lowballing me when I went in and said I'm cool for that. I'm good with that. But I do believe, for instance, even negotiating, like I ain't negotiating until 2 years ago.
Yeah, I used to be like that.
We're not
That-
taught to negotiate because
You're
we're taught
not.
to take what we're given
yeah.
and
So,
just be thankful for the opportunity that somebody gave you
Hey,
a seat at the
Lewis
table.
said nah.
I used to be that way.
no,
Not no more. Shit.
but you have to experience something to change that though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have to be in
And-
position. You honest if you're being honest with yourself, I'm not saying you. I'm speaking from my perspective. If you're being honest though, when you go in for negotiating, you also have to understand that when we're negotiating, you have to already have something because if you have kids, if you have somebody that's dependent on you, it's only so much negotiate you can do at that moment. What we go in is like a scarcity mindset because it's like we're dependent upon this money that's going to come our way. So, Louis, I get what you're saying. Let's say if you have a job that you already working that's paying $100,000, the new job that you're going for is paying you $200,000, right? You're going to have more of a bargaining standpoint because you're already in a position to where you have a good job, so to speak. But
Yeah,
when you're going in from a say that again?
Yeah, with negotiation, and if I may share this tidbit, you guys can receive it or not. But in my experience working in businesses where it requires negotiation, if you are going to negotiate, you got to be willing to walk away. That's the first step. If you're going to present an option other than what's presented to you, then you got to be prepared to walk away from whatever that is. So for me, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of my I'll just be vulnerable. The job I have now, I didn't have a job right when I was negotiating, but I was not willing to accept. I wasn't going to accept anything other than X because back to my original question to you, I understand and I know what my value is because I put the value on myself, right? And that's where it goes back to me accepting a salary or accepting what a company offers me because I put the value on myself. So hey, in order to get me, this is what it costs. You can pay someone 3 times as much, but for me, I'm putting this value on me for now.
So
I think but I think a lot of people don't know that, like it's fortunate enough that you do understand that, but I think it starts even in the Black home. Like we're not taught that. We're not taught that from the beginning. To Princess's point earlier, we're told to accept just the opportunity and just be grateful for the experience. So even when you do learn to negotiate and you learn your worth and you learn your value, like it starts at the foundation of just understanding that those things even exist and what they look like, and then going in there and affording your own self an opportunity based off of whatever is at the table for you.
I agree. Yeah. I learned that from people who didn't look like me, so you're 100% correct.
Hey, you know,
I did.
And so I learned negotiation a whole nother way. I learned negotiation by already having a job and going on interviews anyway and throwing out crazy numbers to see what I could get. Going through the entire interview process, getting to the table, I'm like, man, I want this. I don't care what none of y'all, because I was confident in my ability, but opposite of Lewis, I really do salute you on not having a job and still being willing to be like, no, I'm taking this. My tactic was a little more safe for my personal mindset. My personal, I don't know the background to that, but I'm just sharing to say, like, bro, I started when I had switched to the job. Now I was going on interviews to tech companies, this company, and I would throw stuff out saying like this. And I will be honest, some people said, yeah, and I got scared because I didn't know if I could really do what they was asking me to do. But
they was gonna pay you to do it.
But yeah, I got like, real talk. I'm like, oh shit.
Wait, hold on. Since we're sharing tips too, I'll share this one that I learned. I haven't used it yet, but my best friend, what she did was she was actually seeking like a raise, right? And what she did was because Glassdoor You know, you can go on there, you can see people's salaries and stuff like that. So she was just looking at the position that she wanted in her head, right? They didn't even have it at her job. And she was trying to make a presentation on why they needed this new position and why, you know, what she should be getting paid. And she just did her homework. So she was looking at other corporations that had that position, looked at the salaries of what they were making. And she was like, I already do half this stuff. And if y'all really want to be competitive and not just have me, but you're going to need this position anyway, and you can't lowball other people. And she was like, y'all got to pay me somewhere in this. You know, and that's how she got it. She was like, there, like, people are literally getting paid this amount between this amount and this amount. And that's how she was like, y'all don't even have figures because y'all don't even have this position. So it's somewhere in this range. And that's how she got it. Yeah. Because they can't argue with that because it's facts. You know what I'm saying? And they want to be a competitive, you know, company. So they were able to, so that's what they did. So.
And I will say this to close out my crazy way of negotiating. What that taught me was that it's never about the money. It's about what they can get out of you for the money. It's never about the salary. I learned that. And the reason why I did is when I went into certain things and I got past, you know, the interviews and stuff like that. And the questions they were asking me, similar to what you were saying, Asia, I didn't know this at the time, but I realized like they weren't really position related. So they were trying to get more
behaviors.
Yep. So it was like they were trying to get more than these said things that were listed or more possibly down the road. And I realized like, oh, it's never a matter if a company has money. It's never that. It's what can they get for that money. And back to Lewis's point, I think, you know, we put our own value on ourselves, but like most of us ain't really come up. Like most of us are probably making way more than our parents and stuff were making at our age now. You know what I'm saying? So we can't. Who do we have telling us? I tell my friends all the time, bro. We a whole bunch of 30-year-olds leading a whole bunch of 30-year-olds. Our parents can't even listen to us.
No, that's true. We learn it from each other. That's the best. That is incredible. That's a great quote. That's true.
Yeah, like and that's the way we roll with it. So leading back to the conversation of Black women, I'm trying to. I've done a good job. 41 minutes. I haven't said any. You know what I'm saying? Just to put that out there. But anyway, anyway, so I'm gonna start with the fellas because I think that'll be a good conversation starter for the ladies to come in at. So, how do we protect Black women in you all's opinion? How do we create safe spaces for Black women? How do we protect Black women emotionally, psychologically, mentally? Physically is kind of, you know, self-explanatory. But in you all's opinion, how do we protect Black women?
I'll go first this time, Jay. I have a daughter. Jay and I both have black. Jay and I both have black are raising Black women.
For sure.
So when I think about that, I first make sure. Man, I love my daughter. I'm gonna get emotional. I think that the first thing I do is make sure that she knows she matters. Right? Like I make it a point for her to understand that she's smart, she's beautiful. You know what I mean? And there are just no limitations to what she could do. But I make it a point to tell her the things that the world probably won't. And empower. That's what empowerment. I make it a point to empower her in as many ways as I possibly can. Because I refuse to let another young or another Black woman go into this world and not to be told that she's beautiful, not to be told that she's smart or that she can't do that she has limitations on her. That Black woman that's in here will not ever hear that will never not hear that, because I try to make sure I show her each and every day. So I think that what we can do to protect them is to empower them at home and to be present as Black men and as Black fathers. I think it's important for us to tell these young ladies and these women that we're raising all the great things and how to be and all the great things about themselves and to empower them in every sense of the word.
DJ J Dub, talk to me, bro. What can we do to protect Black women?
First of all, I don't even know how to follow after that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, though. Yeah,
that was really good. But
y'all are great. Y'all are great girl dads, bro.
I appreciate it, bro. Salute to you too, bro. You know
So appreciate you.
But honestly, just to piggyback off what you were saying, I tell my girls the same thing. They're smart, they're beautiful, all of those things. I think the biggest thing for me having girls is that I had to realize that the biggest thing to show them that not only I can protect them physically, but also emotionally. That was big for me because I didn't realize that I'm such a logical thinker, and then my girls would come to me with a lot of emotion, and I have to decipher between they're not coming for a logical answer. I need to be emotional at that moment and see exactly what they're needing at that moment because I'm a fixer. So if you come to me and ask me a direct ask question, a direct question, I'm gonna say, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we need to do to fix it. But a lot of times my girls just want to come to me to vent, and I have to open that space for them to where they know, okay, I can just go talk to my dad about this, and he's not gonna judge me. He's gonna lead me in the right direction, but also know how to properly listen to me. I think that's what makes them feel safe because if you just shoot them down or you just like giving them a logical answer, eventually they're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, they're going to think that's okay for a guy to do that for them. And I don't want them to grow up and get a guy that's going to be like emotionally unavailable. One of those things to where it's just like, Lord, I'm just in a relationship by myself. So I pride myself on learning those different things. That's what sets it apart for me is being able to separate logic from emotion.
Hey, you said one thing.
My girls feel the same.
One other thing we got to do is we got to be the example of the men we want our daughters to be. So yeah, so you hit on that, Jay. We're their first experience to that dynamic, and we got to be the right example. So yeah,
and so I don't have daughters, but I have nieces.
That's
you know what I'm saying.
Though.
You said
quit trying to interject. Quit trying to put yourself in our shoes, bro.
I'm not at all.
No, I said I'm gonna be honest. That's tough at times though, because honestly, as a father, we know that we've seen girls who was growing up. They had mamas and dad. You know what I'm saying? But they were out there. You know what I'm saying? Wild with it. It ain't matter what type of dad they had. So for me, it's like trying to be that example is tough because you're still human. You still make those mistakes. You're still learning yourself. But at the same time, it's like we can give them all of those things. We can just hope for the best, basically. Like you can give them all of those things and say, this type of guy you want, he's a walk. I always tell my girls, they know this. You're not opening no doors. This is the side of the street you need to walk on. If he's not doing this, I instill those things. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna find a guy like that. I would just hope that what I'm doing, that they're receiving.
But you don't think so? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but like.
Can y'all if you do stop acting like y'all can't say stuff, please?
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, bro.
Thank you. Sorry, Keaton. My apologies. So,
talk to me nice.
You're going to make mistakes. Like we're going to make mistakes, but like I feel like it's my obligation to go and interpret those mistakes and talk to my daughter about that. Hey, daddy yelled at you about this, but that's not right. You shouldn't yell. Or you might have heard daddy yell and daddy's not supposed to yell. No, you should not let anyone yell at you. You know what I mean? You can talk without yelling. This is the real reason. So I think to your point, Jay, like that's just raising children in general. They're individual people. They're going to make their own decisions when they get down the line. But we still are the example of even if we make mistakes, we're still the example of how we correct those mistakes as well. So you got to give yourself more credit. You got to give yourself more credit there because you are creating a space for them to understand how to resolve conflict as a man to woman, and how you treat any woman that comes into your life. They're going to watch how you treat any woman that you interact with. You know what I'm saying? So we are a huge example. Sorry, that's all I'm gonna say.
No, but I'm gonna say this, and Jay, I hope you don't. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say one last thing. The biggest thing I learned though that helped my girls too. I don't know if this is for y'all women as well. My parents when I was growing up, they ain't do a lot of apologizing. I apologize to my girls. Like if I do something wrong or out of the ordinary, I go to them like, I apologize for that because I didn't mean to come off like I didn't mean to. And I think that's big for them because it shows that we can be vulnerable with them. Like because as parents, when we were growing up, it was always our parents was right. It wasn't no apology. It's like, what was said, what was said. It wasn't really no. So I think me apologizing to my girls, it opens up a level of protection for them, I think. But go ahead, Kenny.
And what I was going to piggyback off with Jay specifically, and this happened in real life. This is a true story. I remember one time way back in the same regard as protecting young black girls. And at the time I didn't have any kids, but I was at his house with my nieces. And it was funny because me and his older daughter was having a conversation. And Jay butted in. I'm like, hey, bro, this between me and my niece right now. And the thing that I was trying to get him to understand after everything is like those male relationships in little girls' lives outside their dad is important too, right? Because I was explaining to him like there are things that like one day she may be like, let me holler at Uncle Keenan about this, and maybe he'll go back and tell my dad the way it need to be done. And me and Jay had a whole powwow about like, bro, like I'm her uncle, I'm not her pops. Obviously, I'm gonna make sure she stay online, but like she can tell me about the little boy she like, and I can ask questions. And if you don't want to hear that, you're gonna get it from. I'm gonna tell you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna tell you anyway, but I also got to make sure if she's not comfortable, and it's not uncomfortable saying that Jay doesn't create that space, but you know they're kids, so like as long as she has those positive male role models in order that she feels comfortable to communicate with, that's important as well. And I think the other side of that is with me having sons. Like I think the way I'm gonna go from the dad perspective. I'll probably punch one of them in the face if I hear something. If like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be out here acting wild, treating women this type of way because I don't treat your mama like that. You know what I'm saying? And I real talk, real talk. I promise you, if Cameron and Caden, I don't know no other way to be about them, but to really do everything I can to instill the value of black women to them. Their mothers, one, their grandmothers, their aunts, you know, everything that you see is that. So we ain't gonna be disrespectful. You know what I mean? And we are gonna always protect them. But I'm gonna speak from a spouse perspective that I was talking to my wife about yesterday. We was chilling, true story again. I know, real story. So we was chilling yesterday, and I just asked random question. I was like, what in a woman's mind that we was a matter of fact, we was talking about the emotional intelligence thing. And I was like, in a woman's mind, that's say she's super frustrated with her partner, super frustrated, don't like super frustrated. I'm on your nerve, I'm plucking. What would have to happen in order for you to just come out and tell me, right? And she went through this process of like telling me, like, well, it depends on if it's in the moment, has it been irritating me for a while? Do I shake it? Is it that important? How my work day was and all these things. And so my next question was like, damn, do I create an environment where you feel like you can't just, you know, say whatever you want when? She was like, no, she was like, honestly, that's just the way I am. Like I think about so many things before I put stuff out in the world because I don't want to come off a certain way. Because again, he was like, I can come off like this, I can come off like that. And the fact that she had those factors to think about, even if it wasn't pertaining to me to want to talk about, I was like, so what is it about this movement of like guys being more articulate? Are we causing women to feel like they can't be because we'll always have a rebuttal or we'll always have a like, well, what about this? Or you didn't say that, or this, that, and the third. And she was just telling me that in her experiences with a lot of people, not even with just me, it's like she's been deemed mean. Like she's the spicy one. She says a lot of things that people don't like. And she, as a child, internalized that to like, she got to think about everything she says before she says it. So I was like, well, what level of frustration do you have to get at to express those things? She was like, if I can't shake it, I'll say something. So I'm being long-winded to say, like, my protection for her is making sure she can always come to me with anything, even if it's about me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe in creating a space where she can't say how she's feeling about anyone, even our kids, our dog, whoever it may be, without having to second guess if it's going to come back on her. I think a lot of times we ask questions for information. And as men, if it hurts your feelings or if you don't like it, I'm not gonna say you internalize it, but you hold on to it and you don't make her feel as safe the second time around to share that same thing. So I think
Mm-hmm.
for my wife, you know, mental and emotional protection was like creating that space for her. Now, that shit come with stuff because they tell you everything they feeling in. Right. You got to be ready when they fly off. But I think it's the constant like check in. And what put that over the edge for me was postpartum. When I realized like that's something that you can't even like, I can't even tell you I know what that's like. I can't even relate to you right now.
Yep.
I can't even say like, yo, you straight? And you say yeah, but you really mean no, but you really mean no and yeah. But all I get to sit there and be like, damn, is there something I could do? And it made me realize how important it was for women to be expressive and not be judged. So I think from a spouse standpoint, just let her say and be able to do things that she needs to do without being judged.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so to you all, what does protection look like for you?
Everything y'all just said.
Brittany, I'm
no, it's in a nutshell.
Brittany,
In a nutshell, see us. I heard see us, hear
Mhm.
us, love
Mhm.
us, trust us, but most importantly, understand us. And that being said, is like we have personal storms too, and understanding what those personal storms look like. Like they're just that. And kind of navigating through that with us, creating those spaces. But also, I love the fact that Jay and Lewis tapped into their daughters, like teaching them the way, because that is so important. That is so, y'all have no idea how much a male just figure to be in a daughter's life or a little girl's life is so important, man. I'm gonna get emotional talking about that, but it's so important to be there to do that, and to model what protection looks like, right? Or the ins and outs, and even you, Keenan, kind of being that other male, right? Like I'm not daddy, but I'm here. I can talk to you about certain things that maybe daddy's not, y'all not talking about, or you're not there yet, whatever it is. So in a nutshell, I think you guys hit it. I just feel like the most important thing is just to understand us, but validate that and create that safe space for us to have a voice, to be heard, where we're not often knocked down back to the bottom, or we feel like we can't talk about certain things.
So I'm assuming Princess Asian, y'all second that?
Yeah,
I do, but I did want to say, I think sometimes it's asking if we need what we need of you in that moment. So like, do we need a problem solver or do we just need to be heard? Because I think sometimes men go into like problem solving mode, and sometimes it literally invalidates like what we just said. Like sometimes it's like, okay, but did you try this? Okay, but did you talk to her, like, and you said this? And in my mind I'm like, well, yes, okay, yeah, maybe I could have said it this way, but I didn't come to you for that. I came to you so you could be like, dang, that's crazy, babe. Like, she said what? You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes, but for real, I think sometimes we don't always need you to be a problem solver. Is what I'm saying. So I think protection does look like that because it goes with the emotional protection of the thing. I'm ignoring Lewis for the moment, but what I will agree with him on is the importance of having a dad do those things, because, and y'all know how I feel about my dad. Y'all know how I feel about my dad.
I admire that. That's what I try. That's what I aspire to be. I want my daughter to talk about me like that.
And what's crazy is, because Jay, you brought up a point, right? Like you could do all that you can, but she still might, mess around with knuckleheads and stuff like that. However, no matter who she messes around with, in her mind, she will be like, but that can't be my husband though.
Right. Yep.
But I still have a standard though. Like it's not like she's going to forget all that you've done and all that you've said, all that you've instilled in her, because she is going to be a teenager and all that kind of stuff. And she'll have her fun, but she'll always have that standard. You know what I mean? So like, I knew there were certain things that if I really wanted to like bring somebody, because here's the thing, I knew I couldn't just bring anybody to my dad.
Yep.
But you was out there messing with them knuckleheads, is what you're saying.
Well, you know what I'm saying? What is that? Earth one, as you say, right?
Yeah. 90, we go 98 if you want to.
98.
She just sitting here talking about us not listening, but you agree with her. Okay, I hear what you're saying. We agree.
Solve the problem, Jay. She just talked about how you don't need problem solving. Here you go.
Here you go. You create
not all the time. Not all the time.
Hey, Lewis, I want to know what the head smack was for, bro. Enlighten us.
Me too.
Why do people just like complaining?
What?
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and say my point.
Hey, yo, Lewis.
Whoa, bro. Turn of events in minute 58.
I was waiting for the moment that Lewis. I was waiting for this moment though. Let me just say, I was like, Lewis is doing great. I'm even agreeing with Lewis. I knew something.
Hold on, Lewis. Further explain what you mean, brother.
Like problem, like that's the whole reason you bring out a problem is to solve it. Who just talks about a problem just to talk about it? I never understood that.
That's because you're thinking logically about a situation. I just said that, bro. If somebody's coming to you in an emotional standpoint, Lewis, you have to learn to they just coming to vent. You have to learn how to decipher between what they coming to you for.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the difference between.
Oh, they couldn't just tell me what they coming to me for, right? That would just
right.
be...
But that's the difference. So, Lewis, if somebody came to you and said, "I need $500 to go towards this mortgage," that's direct, right? It's not much emotion behind that. That's direct. But if she's coming, you telling you about how her day went, she wants you to decipher, like she said, feel like, "Oh, that's crazy. They out there wild at work. That's crazy." Even though in your mind, you like, okay, you may not care to hear it, but that's what she's saying the difference is. To you that's complaining, to her, that's big.
Right.
Yeah, and it might not be
and all I said was to ask her what she needs of you, because she might need you to be a problem solver, Lewis. Or she might want to vent, because you're talking about complaining. She might want to vent. It doesn't even have
to be defined as a problem. Like, why is it that if I come to you to vent to you about something, it's defined as a problem? Like, what if I just want to vent about something? That doesn't mean that it needs a solution. That doesn't mean that it is a problem.
Safe?
I'm just talking.
Lewis said, if you want to be safe, find a women's group.
Right. I never said that. I never said that.
So what are you saying, Lewis?
Man, I just stressed. He got his hand on his head.
I don't know, man. I'm so much of a problem solver. I don't
know,
what
do you do when your wife is like, "Hey, I need you"?
I'm getting better. I just listen. I just don't say anything.
No, but that's worse.
Because it's like, do you hear me? Like,
you just look at her.
Hey, Lewis, do you do it too?
Sometimes.
Oh my God. No,
my wife is awesome, man. She understands it's a process for me.
How does she deal with this, bro? Oh my!
Because she know I don't mean any harm. I say this stuff, y'all laugh, but it's like that's really who I am. Like I'm just.
I know.
You know, because I'm that way. Like I'm not gonna vent. I'm not gonna vent to vent. If I'm gonna bring something to your attention, is because it's like I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Other than that, it's just it's just life. Shit, it just happens.
But the one thing I've learned, Lewis, is that hurts you in the long run.
It does.
Thinking that people, dissect problems like you do, think like you do, that it's not the same. So yeah, you may not go to people because you don't vent, but I think naturally you hold other people to that same standard of like, well, because I don't get complain, what
that's
the hell
wrong.
You come to me for?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's wrong though. That's wrong.
You're right. You know what I love about Lewis the Bo Show? Lewis would do something and call it wrong right afterwards. Like, yeah, I do that shit. That's wrong though. I do that, but that's wrong. I'm like, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm like 50-50 with Lewis. I understand. So Asia, I'm gonna say this. I agree with you, but it is in the presentation of the venting. Like there's a certain like, okay, this is just venting. She don't want nothing tone. And there's a certain like anxiety and stress level that sound like you need something solved. You know what I mean? No.
I said ask her. Y'all are missing the whole. See, y'all are already jumping into assuming what she needs and doesn't need. Just ask her what she needs.
So you don't feel like after a while you should learn that? Hold on, but you don't feel like you should learn that after a while? Like you need to ask every time?
I think that in order to create a safe space, it's what's the harm in asking?
Every time I get that.
But every time a woman would get annoyed by that. Like, damn, bro, you don't
I'm asking.
I gotta tell you every time. Good gracious.
Like, yeah, hey, I'm not gonna cap. After a while, I feel like that's what the response would be. Like every time, Asia, I gotta ask you, listen or
like, hey, what are we doing here? Is this a venting session? Like, what's going on?
Every time?
Okay, go ahead. Then don't ask at all.
I didn't say.
Because how do you? Because my next question would then be, how do you quantify that?
I'm asking because you're gonna get mad when I solve the problem. Well, why didn't you do this then? Since we're talking about it.
How do you quantify how often that you would ask?
So
hey, Lewis,
I'm not. Hold on, Jay.
Put the problem solver up there for Lewis next year.
Because I feel like sometimes are more obvious. Yeah, right. But I think on the times, thank you, Lewis, because on the times that you're saying to yourself, if you know your person, you're like, I can't tell which one it is today, then ask.
Yeah. I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
And boom.
But my question to you is, like, say we go through it, I ask. Like, after a while, never mind. All right, so I'm gonna let
I'm just saying, if you know, then do what you know that your lady needs. But like Lewis just said, I said, all right, if you'll know, and Lewis was like, nah, I'm gonna just ask. Then that's what Lewis should do. But Keenan, for you, if you're like, no, but I know my lady, I know the tone that she's saying when she needs my support, when she needs me to problem solve, and when she's just venting, then cool. And then on the times you don't know, don't just go to problem solver mode, because that's usually y'all default. So then ask her before you go into problem solver mode.
I ain't gonna lie,
that's so horrible.
Yeah,
Lewis, you just said, yo, I'm not doing this with you.
I hate him, man. I hate
All
him.
right.
What's wrong with being a problem solver?
I gotta switch the topic.
I'm
So,
sorry. What's up, Princess?
When you asked about what better ways like to protect Black women, I agree with everything that everybody said, but I also feel like there's something to be said about Black men protecting Black women, not only for the Black women that are closest to you, but Black women in public settings. I feel like there's a strong lack thereof. It's almost like I'm only gonna protect my family or my closest friends, but then like the Black women out in the world as a whole are constantly like disrespected and not protected by our own. It's like there has to be so many facts and proof for the world to voice their opinions and actually support and protect the Black woman.
Yes.
In what regard? Could you give an example?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you, Princess. Like, what you mean?
So, like for instance, I'll use the example that you used earlier, Lewis, in the workplace about like the Black woman who said something, and as a Black man, you could voice like, oh no, like she just said that, or like support her like verbally instead of like just thinking it in her head. I mean, just thinking it in your head. Oftentimes, a Black woman will go to bat for a Black man because we're that loyal. We don't care if you're in our family or we owe you any loyalty. Most times Black women are just loyal to a fault at most times. But we don't always get that in return. So that's an example. Another example is, might not pertain to you guys specifically, but like, let's just say stuff that may happen like with your homeboys. You know, like you may see something, but it's kind of like you turn a blind eye because she's not one of your Black women who you protect.
Damn,
but
that was
really,
good.
You know, that's some bull that what's going on, or he may have put his hands on her, or he may have, you know, whatever. But it's like she ain't got nothing to do with me, you know. But if it was a Black woman seeing a Black man in some type of funky situation, she would actually voice her opinion and stand up for him. But it's like for us, we got to be damn near beaten to a pulp on the ground for like somebody to actually like step in if we're not someone who you actually have some type of connection to. That's what I mean.
That's real.
That's real said, Princess.
I think first of all, that was definitely well said. I can agree with you on the corporate setting for sure. You can definitely step up a little. Well, we can definitely step up a little bit more in that setting. The other one is kind of a sticky situation, and the reason why I say this is because when you're dealing with people, whether that's domestic or whatever they have going on, I get the fact of you saying step up. That's not the issue. The issue is that by you stepping up and doing that, you interfere into their relationship. That a possibility of you're protecting her at that moment, but then she's going back into the situation. So yeah, you're protecting her at that moment. You're also risking your life at that moment for something that could potentially end it by protecting this person that could potentially go back to the same person. So it's a lot of variables in that. The corporate setting I get, but I think when it comes to if it's my homeboy, you're right. It's no way in hell like that's gonna go down in front of me at all. I get that 100%. But I think as far as the level that I think Black women want us to get back to, that's where it kind of blurs the line because we don't mind doing that, but it's like at what risk? Now I'm stepping up and we get into it, me and the nigga scuffling, woo, something happened. Let's say he shoot me or whatever happens. Now I'm being taken away from my girl's life for trying to stand up for something that I believe in. What's the alternative? Like, what's the benefit of that?
But I'm not even like only referring to like a domestic dispute. I'll use this example, probably an unpopular example, but I'll speak on it. Let's just take the Meg Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez situation. Whether you believe Tory shot Meg or he didn't shoot Meg, right?
That's a good example.
What we knew is that there was a Black woman, there was a gun involved, there was a Black man. The internet drug Megan, right? Because it's like we need all the facts before we can protect this Black woman. It didn't matter that there was like she was shot. It didn't matter that there was hospital records. Like none of that mattered because we wanted the facts before we could protect that black woman over that black man. Versus if the tables was turned and it was said that Megan shot Tory, it would have been like, oh, fuck that bitch. Like, damn, she a hoe. She always ass on the internet. Like, it would have been like,
that's true.
Meg shot Tory. Like, that. It would have been a fact. It wouldn't have taken proof for everybody to jump on board and protect that black man. Black women included. They would have been talking shit about Meg too. Like, yeah, she shot him for sure. But vice versa, it's like, no, we need everything black and white for us to agree to say that Meg.
That was a hell of an example.
That was a good example.
Yeah, because I don't even know how to respond to that, because you're 110% right. That.
And I'm not here to say that he did or he didn't, but
she didn't get the sympathy she deserved to be in the victim.
Yeah,
right.
Because
we needed to know for sure first before we said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry that there was trauma, black woman." It's just like you live in that and you suffer.
Yeah. Good night. I mean, I agree with this. I agree with the friend part. No, I'm just saying because it made me think like, damn. Even though I didn't jump to that, it was like we did just exit out the fact that she was shot.
Correct. Just on the surface of what it was, we didn't give her the.
Yeah, we didn't just jump to that. Like, damn, like sending prayers, like hope everything's all right. We went to like, what did she do?
Yeah,
why did that happen?
Like why? You was drinking, like girl, you was drinking for Tory. What you expect? Like it was just a drunk night. Like
that was bad. That was bad. And from the friend perspective, I got like one thought on it. I'm gonna be honest. I struggle with this with excuse me, friends, family members, whatever. It's so hard to get people to listen when they've been in something for a long time. So I don't know the line between trying to protect, like say in your circle or even a little bit outside that circle that stretches a little further than your intimate circle. It's like we try. I think most of us guys that care, we try. But then like that line, the boundary word is really real. Like there's a lot of places where that boundary is set not to infiltrate that space to do that. This is my said person or my said situation or my said thing, and they don't want that advice. They don't want that input. So it's like figuring out that line. And there's some people that's like, oh no, I feel that. Like I shouldn't have. And I'm gonna be honest. I was literally speaking on this yesterday or today. I can't remember. When you said like beat to a pulp, I'm gonna just say in the literal sense. I just feel like that's the only thing you can't come back from, and maybe having a baby on somebody. But like when you start beating a woman, a black woman specifically, what we talking about, I don't know if you can come back from that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't, like outside of the physical damage, then the psychological damage and the emotional damage. I don't know if there's something that the person who did that to her can come back from. You know what I mean? So it's like if that situation continues to happen, I'm personally saying like I wouldn't know how to protect that person outside if she was outside of my circle or realm of things. You know what I mean? Like outside of telling that person what I believe in and stepping in as far as I could, like I wouldn't know because that domestic get really, really, really different. You know what I mean?
I think for us though, I think where we can because insert ourselves is just holding other black men accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, bro, we don't come on, man. You got to take us a black woman, empower her. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think
I was getting at.
Yeah. I think getting in the middle of it because solving problems. We thinking about solving problems. I think it's about keeping the accountability amongst each other as black men to empower black women to try to limit that perception of them being available to be beat on and things of that nature.
That's a good point, Lewis. I think y'all immediately tried to like solve the problem. Like y'all were talking about getting in the middle of the actual physical altercation, and that's not where my mindset was. It was what Lewis was saying was like actually holding black men accountable. That's a part of protecting black women.
So Princess, let me clarify what I'm saying. Say if I'm out here dotting I's.
He's still wrong. You still wrong, bro. I was right. Just look.
No. I'm like, I'm not saying get in the middle, but say I'm out here Floyd Mayweather Jr. dotting I's, right? Say I can't see Lewis nor Jay being like, you know what, Keenan, come on, man. They're gonna be like, hey, man, like I wouldn't know what to do besides put my hands on them, not trying to be funny. If these two dudes did something like that, right? Like I don't know what else I would do besides take it there, because I don't envision them like that. I don't think that's something they would do. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm not saying get in the middle of it, but like if I know you out here dotting I's, it's like, come on, man, you know we better than that.
No, I think Ken, the point is that we have to shift the narrative amongst us as a culture and moving forward. You're going to have those situations from now until the end of time, unfortunately. But the way we have to demonstrate the value and reiterate the value of Black women as Black men, so that people see Black women in a certain light to where they wouldn't want to go to that step, wouldn't want to take those measures. I think the retooling of our mindset and ensuring that we all are looking at it from that perspective to try to limit those occurrences. Because, you know, when those occurrences happen, I think all of us as stand-up people will interject ourselves and try to minimize it. But I think it's the retooling. Hey, she's saying, what can we do? We can change the thinking around empowering and what that looks like for the young Black men and the men that we're raising, right? So that they understand that that's not the case. And you're doing that.
Right.
Understood. Okay,
like, cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Understood. So here's one of the ones that I cannot wait to hear your perspective. So speaking on kind of transition off protecting Black, well, it's not really transition off. So can someone date outside of Black women but still protect them? Can we? So, Louis, was that you want to go first?
No, I'm just saying. I know Black women don't like that, from what I see.
So I'll jump out.
I don't care about that.
I'm gonna tell you when I care. I'm gonna tell you the difference for me. When you exclusively date outside of Black women, I think
as a Black man.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm only just speaking from Black male's perspective. Where you only deal with any other race but Black, then I think it's hard to say you're in protection of them. Like I just like there got to be some form of there got to be some form of hate there. If you don't even touch this, like, you know, race at all or gender, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you date outside of it, but it's not a situation where you only do other races, I think it could very well happen. But I think that a lot of people get mixed. I'm with interracial relationships. That don't bother me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just think that there's a certain message you send when people say things like, "Oh, I don't date Black women," and you're Black. Oh no, I don't.
My heart is racing so fast.
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
go ahead,
because it brings me anxiety. I'm all for downward swirl, right? Whatever y'all want to do. I personally don't, but whatever y'all want to do. I think it's beyond that, Keenan. I think it's when you start putting down the Black woman, and that's why you chose to date the Spanish, the white, the whatever. That's the part for me that pisses me off, that comes across way too often for me. Then I'm like, yo, why can't you just be happy with that race? Still protect a Black woman because you came from a Black woman, right? You so-called know the struggles and I heard my mama this, and you watched all that, experienced all of that, but you still putting down the Black woman. Oh, she don't. I'm not gonna get vulgar on here, but she don't do certain things that the Black women do, or the Black woman gotta ask questions and she gotta do all this. Like when Susie or Becky can get down with the get down from, you know, like I just don't. When you downplay a Black woman and you choose to be with somebody another race, like you don't have to downplay us. Just do that. Just be happy with who you're with and love on who you're with without throwing dirt on us too. Like, because then it's like you literally put all of us in a bubble because of your experiences with your Black woman, right? And then you shit on us. Excuse my French, but you shit on us. And then there's no way that you can then protect me. I don't ever want, and I had this happen before, not to me personally, but a friend where homeboy was like, okay, wipe my hands, done, all Black women are X, Y, and Z, whatever. He started dating another woman that was a different race. And then when something happened to her specifically, who is a Black woman, it's like, oh, you want to defend and you want to say all these good things. But no, like in the last 2 weeks ago, sorry, y'all. Like
I'm about to come out.
Yeah.
Triggered. It's like it hurt. It's annoying. It's annoying for you to then try and defend me after you just downplayed me in the same week. You can't do that. I don't respect you. I don't expect me to protect you. Don't expect me to respect you, right? Because you don't give that same energy. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it at all.
I totally agree with what Britt is saying. And something that I thought about was the guy that plays Luke Cage, Mike Coulter.
Yeah.
So he's married to a white woman, right?
Yeah.
And when he came out as Luke Cage, everybody was like, why are you married to a white woman? You're with this white woman, da, 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 right? And his response was, I love black women. Like if a black woman actually would have given me the time of day, because he met his wife in college, like I probably would be with a black woman. It's not that I don't like black women. It just so happens that I fell in love. I went to college, fell in love with this white woman. She stuck by my side, and now we're married. But that has no determination on the fact that I love black women, right? That I can respect 1,000% because he's still uplifting black women. My problem, and to be honest, I wouldn't even care if he had only dated white women. To be honest, if he was still uplifting his mom and still uplifting the black friend, black female friends he had around him, cool. Then that really means he had a preference, because we've talked about that. That just means he's attracted to white women. I have no issue with that.
Right.
But if he were to then degrade black women, because in my mind it's like, why are you putting us in the middle of your relationship with a white woman? Be happy with your white woman. And that's just how I feel about that. And it's weird, but I always feel like the black men that do that, though, it's like, sir, we wouldn't have wanted you anyway. That's really how I feel, for real, because it's like because that is what I feel is a self-hate. The fact that we're supposed to be happy and so in love, but when somebody asks you about the woman that you're with, the first thing that comes to mind is how she's so much better than a black woman. That's self-hate to me, and that I really cannot respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm Lewis.
I got a question. Like, so what about the athlete perspective? Like, because like my wife's trigger is when she sees a successful black man get on and get his white girl. She don't like that. So I'm curious as to what y'all's thoughts are on that, because it does seem to be a repetitive trend.
I really think that they put themselves out there differently, though. I think white women trap black athletes, but that's just me, because they want their mixed babies and they want that financial whatever. So they do any and everything. They lower whatever standards. Their parents have bred them to want these rich athletes. I personally know some white women that literally their parents told them, all right, that's your thing. Like, do that. Their parents have groomed them for things like that.
Yeah.
So I think white women trap black men a lot of the time, but that's
damn.
And I wouldn't even say too aggressive. I wouldn't even say crap. That does happen. I will say that white women are groomed from a very young age to go after this type of man, and most times it's a man of a certain level of education. If they don't have that level of education, well, actually, most times for them, the education is equivalent with the money, right? Yeah. But when you're dealing with an athlete, it might not be the education; it's just the bag. However, they've been groomed from a very, very young age to go after that and do whatever it takes to get that. That's how their moms like raised them. Even back from when I was in high school, like I was a cheerleader. A lot of those white girls who I went to school with, like they lived in the rich neighborhoods in Cary, North Carolina. You know what I mean? So their parents knew each other. So if it was like a guy who, okay, the mom knew that, well, their family's well off. So like, nah, he's on the football team. Why don't you kind of, spend a little time with him? Like, and they don't really care if it's like really anything with morals in it. It's just like, you need to go after that. And like you said, Asia, like there's certain standards and morals that they will put down so they can have that. Whereas in some things, a black woman is going to voice her opinion about, and she's going to say what she's got to say, versus the white woman is going to be more timid and quiet about it a lot of times, because that's how they've been groomed since birth.
Yeah.
Is that a bad?
hold on real quick. But the thing I want to say about that too, because I don't want to just put on the woman, and I'm not. I said what I said. I'm gonna pull Lewis. I said what I said, but because I've heard some of my black guy friends though, and they said things like, because they do, reach a higher level of education, and for them they said they want to have someone that's not black, so that when they're in the corporate spaces and when they're in certain meetings, they feel that it would help them get into certain rooms by not having a black woman on their arm. Just by the look of it,
aesthetics,
and what it says to have then a white woman in particular is what my homeboy said.
That's wild. That's wild.
He said
what
it
does
said,
say is they out here motherfucking cooning is what they doing. That's what it say to me.
But that's what it was said.
You cannot. It's not right, but they give you access they give you access to things that you would not have otherwise.
Yeah.
You know why that is?
This is facts.
They give you that access. That's a fact. First of all, they give you access though because there's not enough black men bringing those black women into those rooms to grant that access. So we automatically assume that these white women are sitting here, and it's like, oh, I got to get me a white woman to go into this room because it's not enough. Most of the time when these guys are coming up, the person, like y'all said, I'm gonna piggyback on what y'all said, defending you, backing you up, that was going to practice with you, staying up late. Those were all black women. That wasn't her white ass over there doing that. So you gonna bring her up here and let her reap the benefits of that's just stupid on your part.
Hey,
I understand you in those rooms, but if you brought that same black woman that was with you up there and all of those people kept doing that, we would change that narrative.
Yeah.
Hey, Lewis, no, we not.
Okay, because I don't want to get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? But I think
what?
I mean
what you said or what you about to say?
I'm about to say nothing crazy, but
as this nigga about to say something.
Man, this is bad. This is about to be bad, man. It's gonna sound bad.
Say it. You understand why they do it. Go ahead.
Hey,
I do, man. I do, bro. I do, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something. The people I associate with, they get so much information from being around, and that could just be culture. I guess if you went, like, if someone married someone in an Indian family, Asian family, or you know what I'm saying, they get so much information that they use that just propels them and helps them in ways that maybe it's not as accessible to us, man. And I really understand that. Maybe we could go about it in a different way.
Do I have to be married to them to get that information?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I just never seen it gotten any other way.
LeBron.
You just have to network.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a black athlete, you're in the rooms. Make use of it. That don't mean you got to sleep with them.
But what about like where we are?
Same
thing. Lewis treaded lightly. I'm not used to that, bro.
No, same thing. Like you can be in the rooms without having to make that person your wife as a black man.
So let me be honest with you.
Well, we will hope so, because boy.
So look. So check this out. So think about it like this. Think if we have the most.
Brittany is locked in on this Joker, boy.
Oh man! All right. Let's say white men who typically are the ones who are in the better positions historically.
Okay.
I have this black man who married my daughter, and now they have a child. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to withhold any information because part of my legacy is attached to this child, right? So I'm going to I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen these people in positions, these interracial families, and I see how they're so invested in their legacy that they give and they pour into the African American males, and they get information and insight that they would not have gotten otherwise. You know what I mean? And I think, and it's like, I don't know. I see that being a part of the strategy for some people as a black male. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? I'm in the constant pursuit of information and knowledge, but I just feel like, it does give them access to in conversations in rooms that they wouldn't get otherwise, or it's somewhat of a shortcut. To be honest,
I would disagree with that.
I just don't understand why they got to be in a relationship to get that information.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Lewis, I do understand the perspective of when you have that child, it kind of you could get it other ways, but you're gonna get the most information that way when it's embedded in the
because they're invested in a totally different way. If I'm networking with you at work and I'm asking for game and you giving it to me, yeah, you might. But if I'm attached to your legacy, if I'm attached to you and your legacy, I'm gonna get it in a whole nother way. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna get assistance. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go double pie unpopular opinion, which somebody told me that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think is things to share. From the other side, when you get into a little bit more money, I have my preference. I'm prefacing this by saying I have my preference. I love my black queen. But I think when people come up in certain environments, they understand things better. For instance, there's a lot of first-generation black business owners. Our people from a certain privileged group at our age range are third, fourth, and fifth generation business owners. Mm-hmm. So when you get to a certain level, there were certain things that not making it right that they may understand that our culture is still learning,
catching up to. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that makes a lot of these things harder to keep it. Like, yo, be the first to say it. On my scale, I'm very comfortable in my lane, right? But I see where the tension can come in from if that's not what you were brought up in. If you're trying to build something first generation and your partner, black male or black woman, we're not used to that, it can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
And when you come into a world, when you grow it and come into money, there are certain people that's been around that their whole lives. And that's when you see the like, oh, I'm going to shut up and deal with it type woman from a privileged group, because that's what she saw happen. What, Lewis? Why are you laughing?
Nothing. I'm agreeing with you, brother.
So, but I personally wouldn't do it. But I think after a while, when you cross certain tax brackets, I don't think they're looking at the race like we're looking at it on this level.
Right.
I think there's a bigger target at bay. You know what I mean? But when we're on this level of love and growing together and we haven't crossed over that tax bracket, we don't view it like that. I don't, but like, I think that's where a lot of dudes get caught up. Like I got a question. Would you all be comfortable with an NBA player's lifestyle or multi-million-dollar entrepreneur's lifestyle right now? Always on the road, barely available. Would y'all be okay with that right now?
I would.
Lewis, ain't nobody talking to you, bro. Shit crazy, man.
Hey, Lewis. Lewis, you'll be able to close the tab. I guarantee you
that. No, but I'm asking a serious question. Would that be something y'all be down with?
It depends.
Lying ass.
Yo, hey, Brittany, when I tell you got these shirts dead on, you got these shirts dead on.
It depends.
Asia, Brittany?
No. Nah.
Man, what?
Because what I wouldn't be comfortable with, and I'm just being very transparent, it's like if you always on the road, what are you doing?
Damn.
Like in my mind, not to say like I'm sure you're handling business and all that kind of stuff, but I'm like, there are certain like emotional, physical needs that I'm like where
who's meeting them?
Where are you at?
Yeah.
You're never home, and you're just like.
No.
Here's the caveat to that. That's gonna happen whether the athlete or not.
No, but what Keenan said, I'm responding to when Keenan said he's traveling all the time, because he didn't just say an athlete, he said an entrepreneur too. He's
multi-million dollar.
Multi-million dollar. So that stuff is like they're always on calls. They're always compromising something. Even if you're at dinner, they could easily have to go take the phone call here or there. Like that type of stuff where you are not number one. For an athlete, their sport is their number one. For a multi-million dollar entrepreneur, whatever they're trying to accomplish, whatever business venture that's in front of them, that's their number one. For me, right now, I want to be somebody's number one. I do not want to come second to anything.
Okay, respect. But okay, Brittany.
No, that's plain and simple.
I hate to say this, but y'all are kind of proving the point here.
Y'all lying.
Listen,
how are we lying?
I'm not lying.
Hold on, wait a minute. Are you saying that a white woman would say yes? Are you comparing?
No, I never said that. I'm gonna tell you why.
He's not gonna say
No,
that, but
Kenan
yes,
said that because
that's
Kenan
the
dated a
point.
lot of.
No,
Kenan dated a lot
oh,
of
my
white
bad.
girls,
I
so
didn't
he
even know
was
she was
saying-
talking to me. Nah, what I'm saying is the point I just made about when you cross over a certain tax bracket, a lifestyle that people are used to. Not
Right.
saying that I'm saying like there are
Yeah.
people. Do y'all ever watch? I'm not trying to be funny. Do y'all ever watch like those shows, Undercover Boss? And like, y'all ever watch this back in the day a little bit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you like these people that are in those? I'm not talking about the positions where like you're a big time general manager or you're I'm talking about the people that like own these chains that we'll never see, and like their kids and their grandkids have been accustomed to that lifestyle for years. So what
That's
the
true.
same things Asia is saying, like, no, I'm not with that. They're used to. That's their life.
So there isn't an opportunity to change that narrative, basically, is what you're saying. Like, how do we change that narrative? How do we make it so it's equitable resources across the board for Black people, so you don't have to go get a white girlfriend to demand the room?
Whoa! I ain't say go get a white girlfriend. Let me.
No, but I'm saying to like Lewis's point
Yeah.
earlier in terms of like having the child and you know like y'all or Princess's story about the cheerleader going with like how do we change that narrative, or is there a possibility to even change that narrative?
So I'm gonna jump out there, Lewis. I know you probably so Brittany, I'm gonna say this, man, and I'm in the field I'm in. This is very important. You can that gap is so wide. There's only so much you can do to close it in your lifetime. So the issue that I have, and people are not going to like what I have to say, but when I hear people jump to generational wealth and like I'm trying to set this up for my grandkids, like a lot of us need to make sure our kids will be more than straight and teach them. You do set up for your grandkids, but you need to make sure that your kids are straight and that they understand what resources will be available at said times and how they can continuously help that money grow. I'm not saying the goal shouldn't be to make sure your grandkids are straight. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but we go from not knowing anything, no information, no businesses, no resources, and we jump from that to wanting to be some of the things we see, but we don't ever think about that gap that's really there. It's like 96% of Black businesses have one or two employees. These ones that's really making bread on that generational changing level, we will never see them anywhere on social media. We'll never see them anywhere on camera where we can find them. You'll never see an address. They'll never be on Shade Room, Baller Alert, everything in between. But we think the type of access to a certain type of money is the game changer when reality that we're still playing checkers in a lot of instances. So you can change it, but it might not be in our lifetime. We can go the right way, but I don't know if we would see the change in our lifetime only.
Listen, I can't believe y'all a millionaire. Y'all would be like, nah.
Hey, Lewis.
See, but
Lewis had to reel it back in.
but Lewis, no, but seriously, because I think I'm responding to Kenan's specific question because it wasn't just about a millionaire. It wasn't just about a man that owns businesses. He said an athlete and a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur that's never home, that's never there. Like those are the things. Because if you ask me, Asia, can you be a millionaire? Yeah. But someone that's to what Kenan's talking about, that's what I'm saying no to right now.
It's their life. It's the way he described their lifestyle.
The lifestyle,
like
exactly.
The dynamics of their lifestyle. Lewis, come on, let's be real. Like, if you accept that, then you're accepting everything that comes along with that. Because, like Asia said, their emotional needs and wants, like they gonna be out here doing stuff because there's a whole bunch of temptation, opportunity right before them. They're not with you at home. They're not gonna be flying back home every time they need something. So they're going to take advantage of what's in front of them. But you have to understand that. If you accept that role, fine. But you're going to have to understand what that comes with. And I think that's the part for me where I'm like, nah, if I'm not okay with him doing all these things, there's no amount of money that will bring me happiness or shut me up to allow him to then go get his needs fulfilled by somebody else on a regular basis because he's never home. It's
like just because the house is taken care of, I got to put up with it.
Like, why do we jump to cheating? Like, that's a bit aggressive.
I'm not even really thinking about the cheating aspect of it,
for me.
just because. Not saying that
he is going to cheat.
I mean, And he may very well. However, like I just don't think cheating is so far fetched for the average man that it's so much of a concern for me when my man has millions. Because I mean, it's
so how many passes does he get a year, Princess?
Don't ask me no bullshit like that. But like.
And Keenan said he wasn't going to troll tonight. I was waiting for this moment.
I was an hour and 40 minutes, bro.
That was
an hour and 40 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes.
But I mean, yeah, we could go down a whole spiral with that conversation. But I mean, I don't
know, man. Listen, I think get on the other side of that conversation. We're talking about the emotional experience. Get on the other side of the lifestyle experience and then see. Because there are things out there that we have no idea, a whole nother side of the world that we don't know anything about. And, things we don't even know we like that well. And I just think it's hard to just say, it's easy to say it from this perspective. Maybe I'm just curious. Maybe I just want to see what's on the other side so bad that I would put up with. Maybe I would put up with.
Hey, Lewis, so how many passes would she get with you?
As many as she want. 1 million? She gonna do it anyway. What I'm gonna do?
Hey, as long as she close the tab, Lewis.
Man, look, I'm being honest.
What's interesting about this though, Lewis, is this is coming from the same person that when we were talking about salary, he's like, I know who creates your worth. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, okay, I'd be okay with $120K a year. And in my mind, I'm like, then you would only have the lifestyle of $120K. You know what I'm saying? Like in my mind, it's like,
hey Jay, he sold his ass quick.
Hey, yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Hey, Lewis ain't negotiating nothing.
Yo,
man, y'all talking about something different, man. Because I mean, it's women that do that, yo. It's women that sit there and live miserable. I mean, miserable in that sense and take that other because of what that lifestyle gives you. I just think it's hard to. It's true. It's hard to sit here and say you wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. Where I am in life, it's hard to sit here and say I wouldn't.
It's pros and cons, and you got to balance.
Because I mean, you go. I ain't been on a private jet yet, so I don't know. So I want to see what that's like before I say no.
Yo,
you get on a private jet to France and you go in there, you shop it. They know you want to. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Louis trying to get food out.
Really?
Hey, Louis, I'm trying to see what that be like.
For real.
Tomorrow you get on a private jet.
Tonight.
That's why I said I'm not about to sit up here and say no.
Put them things on that I want you to wear. Louis gonna be out there with the fucking t-shirt.
And the thing is funny, Louis is dead serious, bro.
I'm 100% serious.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm serious too. I'm not about we about to see what that's like for sure.
Let me get on that side and then I'll tell you whether I would say this or not.
I would say this. I bet y'all will be 90% more likely to do it if it was who you were with now versus meeting that person. Like if you met that person with those circumstances, they'll probably be like, I don't know. But if a person that you were already with got to that level, it'll probably be different.
I agree with that.
That's
1,000%.
That's absolutely true. 100%.
Yeah.
But does that change it though? Like, does your mentality change? Like,
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think there's two things that could happen in that case. Either you become a full-time CFO on my hip every second, or that person's gonna get passes. Because the mentality's not gonna change. The mentality's not gonna change. The same one that we were disagreeing with, saying like just because a home is taken care of, like that mentality is not gonna change. Reason being, like, it's the hardest thing to give people when you ain't never had it. Like Louis said, you don't know what that's like, and you get it. Your mind is gonna go haywire. You just gotta control it in that person.
And you're gonna go back to living like that. Okay.
But if it's somebody that I built with, if it's somebody that I built with, then yeah, because I just feel like.
So you gonna give them passes because
yes, because and it might not make sense to y'all, but it makes sense to me in my brain because I feel like I'm not going to, like, we've already built a solid foundation. We already been through the trenches together. We already developed, established what it is, whatever. If you now you bring in money, like a lot of money to the table, and we have a solid foundation. We've established this. I might give you a pass.
How much money get him a pass, Britt?
That's the real question.
Hey, Lewis said for him it's a Spirit flight.
That's the I don't even fly. I don't even fly Spirit now, so don't put that on me. Don't even put that on me.
Hey Jay, it's a what flight?
It's a Spirit flight.
Hey, Jay, Daddy took his bag, man.
I don't do that.
He gotta have a carry on.
That's the but all seriousness, that's the real question: is how much money?
How much money get him a pass?
I don't know.
Ah, boo.
Yeah, that's all right.
Everybody
got
how much money get him a pass?
You say that. I don't know.
What?
How much money get him a pass?
I don't think I'm ever gonna be to a point, no matter how much money it is, where I'm just giving known passes. We'll deal with it accordingly, if you know what I mean. Like, but I'm just not out here gonna be like, yeah, you get 3 passes a year, use them sparingly. Like, no, I'm not having that conversation.
So I just gotta say sorry 3 times.
Like the passes are not okay to have an open relationship.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna. I don't care how much money it is. I'm not gonna sit down and have a conversation and say you get 5 passes in the year just because you travel a lot.
You're just gonna stop asking questions.
I'm not even gonna stop asking questions.
Oh, okay.
I think for me, if I could be real, if I'm dealing with somebody and I already know what kind of lifestyle they're living, I'm not asking questions ever.
Got you.
You don't make the rules.
Like I'm just being a buck. If we're talking about Lewis,
if the man got the money, he makes the rules.
Yo, Lewis is wilding.
You know what? Wait, can you clip that right there and then have the title still be "How We Protect Our Black Women"?
Yeah,
because I think
a whole other conversation.
Done.
That'd be great.
Done.
Oh man.
Same episode, Lewis. Same episode.
Done. Hey, look. I try to make sure she feels heard. 3 seconds later, you don't make the rules.
He makes the rules.
A person with the money make the rules, man.
Oh,
it's the same. If she make the money, she gonna make the rules.
Yep.
I'm gonna be real. I'm never gonna ask questions, so I don't give a damn.
I already knew what it was when I got here, baby. It's all right.
That's with or without. You saying if she had money, Keenan, you're not asking questions, or even without?
I ain't just know you can ask anybody. Know me? I ain't asking no dumbass questions. No way. But especially if you bring in the bread, I damn sure ain't asking them then. I'm gonna ask.
But
how
if you find out,
then.
But if you find out,
shit, I forget real quick.
Oh my god!
Stop making this so obvious.
I forget real quick.
Y'all.
Wow. I'm just saying, like, this is what I'm saying. At that point, it's a business decision. I find out, like, say if it's a video, like, I don't want to see no real, like, damn, I was doing that. But like, if it's a quick, look, you know what I'm saying, I'm like, oh damn, it's all right. It is what it is. You gotta get over it.
Can I ask one question? Show me an example where someone left that was in a situation where they were with someone, Kevin Hart, God rest his soul, to number 24.
Hey,
Lala and Carmelo.
Hey, time out. No, time out, Asia. I'm gonna but Lala's. So this is the difference. What Lewis is saying. I'm gonna tell you this is the real difference between white and black women. I was gonna say this earlier, but I'm glad you brought that up. The only difference is this: black women, when they have an athlete, Lala is an anomaly in this sense. They don't stay long enough to get their back to get their half. They get fed up quicker to get their half. A white woman is going to stay all the way till it goes crazy. Oh, I want to leave now, and then get the half. Lala even spoke on how strategic and certain things had to happen before she walked away.
Yeah,
there was
Juanita.
Yeah, I hear that. Lewis's question was who walked away. Give me one example of someone that walked away. That's all I did.
Walked away with nothing. Walked away with nothing.
You didn't say walked away with nothing, Lewis. Now you added on to your question.
You're right. I should have phrased
it. Asia?
You're right. I digress.
I think Philly's still up in there somewhere.
No, you're right.
Nah, I'm just saying though, but like I think that's the difference. Like they either stay or they leave too early to get their investment, their return on investment. It's like, yo, I'm up out of here. And then I ain't gonna speak on Zion, man. We're gonna get up out of here.
Yeah, man. No, we ain't got time for that.
Yeah, that dummy. Anyway, man, millennials versus the world. Me and Jay protect black women. Lewis is still in question on what he's doing. No, I'm just saying. Hey man, Millennials vs. the World. You know it's the Monday Night Crew. We out. Hey man.